Hello, you're very welcome to the LinkedIn Lead Generation Masterclass. We will just give it a few more moments, see if anyone else is going to join, and then we'll get started. Okay, so it looks like we have a small but very select group, which is brilliant. That's how we like it. So this is a masterclass based on a question that one of our clients asked us about 15 months ago, I think. And they gave us the challenge, can you generate some leads for us from LinkedIn? So, of course, we took up the challenge and we started to learn how to do it, basically, pretty well from scratch. Since that time, we've worked with around 20 different companies who were spread across our niches of trainers, coaches, consultants, tech, and a few random businesses that snuck in there. And we've been able to get results for pretty well all of them in terms of more connections, more conversations, and more appointments. That's the basic process that we follow. Obviously, B2B is mainly for, I say obviously, B2B is mainly for, so LinkedIn is mainly for B2B, selling to business. If it's business to consumer, we probably recommend more Facebook or Instagram. LinkedIn is really, really effective in generating leads business to business. From all that experience, we've generated a 6-step process, which we're going to share with you today. We'll dive deep into each step in the process and we'll explain to you how it works. We expect that it'll take about half an hour. And by the end of it, there'll be an opportunity to ask any questions that you have. So we started, we're a small agency based in Brighton called Digital Freelance. And we started on the 1st of March 2016. And there are 3 of us in the agency. There's me, there's Ruben, who is working from home at the moment, and then there's Connie, who is also working from home in Colombia. So a bit of a distance. Connie's been with us pretty well from the start. She's also on the webinar, and she's going to explain what she'll be doing right now.
Thank you, Graham. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We hope that you find it very, very useful. As Graham was saying, I've been working digital freelance for over 4 years now, and we've been doing LinkedIn lead generation for more or less 1.5 years. We realized that it was very important, especially at this kind of uncertain times. So we thought of sharing our knowledge with other business owners and other businesses. I will be, at any point, any of you have questions, please make sure that you type them on the chat. I will look at all the comments or questions that you have, and I will try my best to answer them all. If there's something that's a little bit complicated to answer over text, I will ask Graham to just reply for everyone. I know you're all muted, so if you have any questions or anything, just type away. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Connie. So that was, you're very welcome. As I said earlier, I'm a Yorkshireman, so if you've got video on, you will see that I'm drinking tea, my classic dad mug, just to keep my throat lubricated, because I'm going to be doing quite a lot of speaking. So that's the background. That's about us. So we thought it'd be an opportunity for you to introduce yourself now, say who you are, what you do, and what you want to learn from the webinar, so that I can tailor some of the examples to meet your specific needs. So I think Connie mentioned in the chat box, feel free to type away, and then we'll get going with the webinar.
So we'll just give you a couple of seconds to type.
Okay, so maybe you're shy and you don't want to introduce yourself. That's okay. We will continue with the webinar anyway. So here's the agenda. So we're going to cover these 6 points. Step 1 is how do you choose which people to communicate with? There are 530 million people on LinkedIn. Last time I checked. I haven't checked. I Googled it actually, to be honest. And I suspect the rate of increase has been dramatic during lockdown. So it's probably more like 600 million now, I would think. Out of those, 230 million are active at least once a month. We're not suggesting that you try and connect with 230 million people. That would not be a good idea. So we're going to talk about how to hone down who you're trying to connect with to be much more specific and targeted. And then step 2 is what do you write to persuade people to connect? This is not Facebook. Cat pictures are not really what it's all about. We're going to show you how to write copy that is open and engaging and will help the person to connect with you. Step 3 is to get the connections into your CRM or email list, particularly if you have a long sales process. Nurturing them outside of LinkedIn is normally a good idea. It enables you to get more personal and more specific in your communication, and is a good way to move them through the sales process towards a conclusion. Step 4 is how do you nurture your connections to engage in a conversation on LinkedIn. So this is like how do you converse naturally with the people that you meet on LinkedIn. I saw a post the other day of someone complaining that as soon as they connected, the people tried to sell to them. That's really, really not a good idea. We don't recommend it. You need to nurture them and show them that you care before you start to try and take them further into the process of engagement. Step 5 is turning connections into appointments, which is where you take them from some kind of text communication on LinkedIn into face-to-face. And then finally, we're going to cover what do you cover in the appointment. I think I saw some messages on the chat box. So is that people introducing themselves, or is that something else? So do you want to just say a few words about who's on the call?
Yeah, so we had Callum saying hello. He is the head of business development, and he's interested in improving his skills on how to use LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you, Callum. You're very welcome. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into the agenda. So the first step is how do you choose which people to communicate with? And what we do is we create what's called an avatar. Normally in marketing, you would give the person a name, you would figure out what school they went to, what bands do they like, what's their favorite color, all that kind of stuff to build up a personal profile. For LinkedIn, it's more of a scientific approach, I would say. And so these are the 7 aspects that we consider when building an audience in LinkedIn. So the first step is geography. Most businesses now, probably I won't say all, but most businesses now have a way of doing business digitally. So physical geography may not be such a limitation in terms of delivering the service. But in terms of lead generation, we highly recommend selecting a very specific geography to start with. And ideally what we're aiming for, we use automation, so we're aiming for an audience of about 2,500. If you're doing this manually, which is mainly what we're going to be focusing on today, then an audience of 100 is probably roughly the size that you want to be looking for. But we're not covering automation, but if there are questions about automation, then we're going to cover them at the end in the question and answer session. So there will be an opportunity for you to ask your questions as we go along, as we get to the end. So that's geography. I'm going to show you a specific example of how we do it, so this will be more tangible. The next step is relationship. So LinkedIn is a network, so typically there are 4 types of connection. There is out of network, which means you can't communicate with them at all unless you have some very esoteric high-end LinkedIn package. Third connections, second connections, and first connections. The aim here is to increase the number of your first connections, relevant first connections. Obviously, it's really not a numbers game. It's more of a quality game. And then as you bring in new first connections, the second and third connections of that person will come into your network. So as you build more first connections, your addressable audience also increases. That makes sense. So that's relationship. The next step is industry, fairly self-explanatory. If you're after companies in the manufacturing sector, then you'd put manufacturing into industry. Headcount is a good proxy for turnover, because many B2B marketers and B2B businesses will define their audience based on their turnover. Unfortunately, that is not a criteria that you can use in LinkedIn, but if you use headcount, it gives you a good proxy for the amount of turnover that they have. And it's banded in LinkedIn, so you have self-employed, 1 to 10 employees, 11 to 50, 51 to 200, 201 to 500, 501 to 1,000, 1,001 to 5,000, 5,001 to 10,000, and 10,000 plus. And so depending on what kind of size of organization you're looking for, then you can target based on the headcount that they have. One of our clients used a metric of £100,000 per employee, so that gives you a rough idea of if you're looking for businesses with $1 million turnover, that would be 10 employees. If that's correct, I think I have. Then the next step is seniority. So if you're targeting business owners, as many of you probably are, then you would put in their business owner, probably C-suite, managing director maybe as well. And then we go down into function, which is the part of the organization that they work in. So HR or finance are classic examples. And then finally, title. We've noticed that when we're dealing with some companies, particularly big companies, and particularly in this case in IT, there tend to be a plethora of different job titles. So job title becomes really important to distinguish the people you want to market to from the people who you don't want to market to. So that's the first step. So you do that as kind of desk research, and then the next step is to get LinkedIn Sales Navigator. The reason why to get LinkedIn Sales Navigator is because the granularity of the search is much deeper. So you can break it down much more precisely. And there's a 30-day free trial, so if you don't already have it, I highly recommend that you get it. It's about 60 quid a month, including the VAT. We find that it consistently pays for itself, so we've had a LinkedIn Sales Navigator subscription for quite a long time, well over a year. So that's what we'd recommend. Once you've got your Sales Navigator, there's a little bit of setup which will start to help you to build your audience. So if you put in there the kind of businesses that you want to do business with, and it'll give you like a selection of companies that you can target and what kind of industries you're targeting, it will effectively build a potential list, a lead list for you. We also recommend, though, that doing your own searches in addition to that, because it comes up with slightly different information. So I'm going to show you in a moment how to search for your avatar in LinkedIn. And here we go. Here it is. So this is the searches that we use. So in terms of using the search criteria, we would recommend not using keywords, at least when you first start out, because if you choose a keyword, it will select everyone who has that keyword on their profile, regardless of how long ago it was. So if someone was an accountant 20 years ago, and you put accountant into keywords, then that will be included in your search, even if they're no longer an accountant. So we'd recommend not to use that. So the ones that we use are geography. So we target Brighton and Hove and London. Relationship, normally we'd have in here second, third connections, and also group. So people who are in a group who meet those search criteria is also useful to do. Industry, I said before, we focus on IT consultants, trainers, so you want to fill in the industry box. Seniority level, I said earlier, we focus on CXO. Function, we do consulting and for others. And then headcount, we go all the way down to 1 to 10 and all the way up to 1,000 plus, 1,000 to 5,000. So this is basically the way that you hone and fine-tune your audience to make sure that you're targeting the people that you want to target. The few rules of thumb or heuristics: don't be tempted to market to an audience that's over 2.5K. It's just way too big. You'll lose track really quickly. You're doing it manually. Keep the numbers down to about 100, even if it means you need to just do one headcount band or one seniority level or one function, for example. And then once you've done that, you can then save them as a lead list, which is basically a lead. A lead in LinkedIn terms is an individual person. An account is the company that they work for. So if you're marketing to bigger businesses, you might want to save an account list, and then it will bring up all the people with your target job titles within that account. Or if you're looking more broadly, then you would do a criteria-based search, which is the one I just showed you, and then you can save your leads. Save your leads, yeah. So that's the whistle stop tour through selecting the audience. That's a super important piece, and it's really important to get that bit right. So once you've done that, then the next question is, what do you write to persuade people to connect? This is the realm of copywriting, and we basically use 4 different categories of information. So the first one is what's called a hook. I've given you an example here just to show you what a hook is. So the hook that we're using at the moment is: we live in interesting times for sure, and your skills are needed more than ever. We're getting great response for that, and one of the things with copy is generally it needs a lot of testing to hone it and fine-tune it to get the kind of results that you want. With our benchmark for this step of the process is our baseline is 10%. So if you're getting less than 10% connections, then you've got a problem with the copy. We've had as high as almost 60%. So that means between 1 in 10 and 6 in 10, the people you try and connect with will actually connect with you. And the hook is a key part of making that work. The next step is a headline. The headline of this one is: how can we collaborate together? It's a question. It's nice and open. It will engage with people. This bit is, I will explain to you in a moment the intricacies of the different types of messaging in LinkedIn, because it is not that straightforward, but I'll come to that in a moment. So the opener in this case is: I'm reaching out to you to see how we can help you spread the word. Obviously that relates to us. We're a marketing agency. You'd want to tailor that to your particular niche. And then finally, a call to action. So the call to action here is: let's connect and see how we can collaborate. We've also put an optional piece in here, which is a link to a StoryBrand video. We're not going to cover that in this training. It's just a way of increasing engagement. So I said I'd talk about the different types of messages. So you have a connection request, which is what we're talking about here. The connection request is limited to 300 characters. So it's quite limited. So you've got to be really concise in getting the message across. The second type of message is what's called an in-mail. You get 20 in-mail credits with your Sales Navigator subscription. And then the third type of message is a direct message, which is what you can send once the person has become the first connection. I would recommend that you steal our copy and modify it. In fact, you can steal it with my mission. And we'll show you a way towards the end of the presentation to be able to request a copy of the slides so that you can take this copy here and modify it, bearing in mind that you need to keep it within 300 words. I talked earlier about in-mails. You get 20. We would recommend saving your in-mails for really important communication. What an in-mail means is that the person will receive the message and then will have the option to say yes or no to accept the message. And they will then It means that the difference between an in-mail and a direct message is that you can use headline. So this "how can we collaborate together" is only available with in-mails. But you only get 20 in a month. I guess if you're only in a very limited, looking for a very limited number of leads, you could just use in-mails. If you're looking for a larger number, then you would definitely want to use connection requests. And this strategy is all based on using connection requests. So that's what you write to persuade people to connect. So the next step, step 3, how do you nurture your connections to engage in a conversation? And the way that we do it, and the way that we recommend that you do it, is first of all to do an inventory of your marketing assets. Basically, marketing assets are the content that you already have. They could either be your own content or commenting, sharing and posting on other people's content. But we strongly recommend that you create your own assets. So what do we mean by assets? Well, it could be a blog, could be a video, could be a webinar, it could be audio. They're basically the 4 types of content. It's really important, bearing in mind that this strategy is to send direct messages to your first connections and send the content directly to them. So you don't want to over-message them, because there's nothing worse than getting loads of messages in your direct in your inbox in LinkedIn. The timing that we recommend, and we've proven this through a lot of experiences, to send either 1 piece of content, which is the ideal, or maximum 2 pieces of content to your first connections per month. No more than that. Ideally, no more than 1, because you're literally going straight into their inbox on LinkedIn. And it's quite a kind of personal space. Obviously, if you get into a conversation with them, that's a different situation, and you can have more of a conversation with them. And there's no limits on that. But for sending out content, this is by far the best way to nurture people, to build a relationship with them, to get them on side before you move to the next step, which we're going to talk about in a moment. We use a visual funnel to visually represent the process flow. I'll show you that towards the end. The other thing that is extremely useful if you have it is case studies to demonstrate the result that you can achieve for the person that you are messaging. So that's how do you nurture your connections. I'm going to show you an example now. This is an article on LinkedIn. It has an image at the top, which, this is for an IT support company, so it does what it says on the tin, which is support. And it's got a good headline: what are the top 5 indicators that your IT support may be failing you? And also, it's written in copy and written style to be easy to read. The other advantage of this is an article on LinkedIn. The advantage of that is you get statistics or metrics on how many people have read the article, what sort of job title they have, whereabouts in the country they're based. So it gives you, and what kind of organization they work for. So it gives you the opportunity to fine-tune your content on an ongoing basis based on who's reading it, who's liking it. And it also appears in your, I think it's called a timeline on LinkedIn, which so that other people will also see it, as well as the people that you're directly sending direct messages to. So that's how do you nurture your connections. We recommend a mix. We used to just do articles. Now we recommend a mix of posts and articles, because there've been some changes on LinkedIn that make posts equally as important as articles. So how do you get your connections into your CRM email system? So you've identified who they are, you've sent them a message to connect, they've connected, you've sent them a bit of nurture content, now you want to get them into your CRM or email system. CRM is a client relationship management system. Zoho seems to be quite popular at the moment. There's lots of different email systems that people use. We use an American system called Infusionsoft, which is good as well. But in order to get them in there, you have to have a reason for them to give you permission to market to them, which is a concept that Seth Godin came up with a long time ago. So the way that we do it is we create what's called a lead magnet, and it basically answers the question that your prospective client wants answering in order to interact and have a conversation, give you their email. So it's like a trade. You trade the lead magnet for the email address. In order to do this, you will need a landing page on your website and a way of getting information from the landing page into your CRM or email system. It's outside the scope of this, but it's really, really important if you have a long sales process to have a lead magnet. So you've got them into your CRM, but we're now going to go back to LinkedIn. How do you turn your connections into appointments? And there's a few steps to this. The nurture bit is designed to build a bit of relationship. Once you've built a relationship, then you want to show the person that you talk to that you can solve a problem or deliver value to them. Sometimes we recommend charging a small amount for an appointment because it increases the show-up rate. It's not valid for every niche. It depends a lot on what your niche is and what the norms are in that particular niche. But the most important thing is to get them from a text-based message, a text-based conversation, which is what typically happens on LinkedIn, into some kind of face-to-face meeting. Either we use Zoom all the time, but other options are available. Skype and Google Meets are equally good, and I think Microsoft have something like Teams or something. We use Zoom. The thing that we found that really improves the number of appointments is to use a calendar appointment link for people to book a time in your diary. It really dramatically improved our conversion rate to appointment using calendar appointment links. There's several different options. There's Calendly, Acuity Scheduler, Schedule 1 to 3. We use Appointment Call because it works well with our CRM. So that's how you turn connections into appointments. And then what do you cover in the appointment? The most important thing we found is to create a structure. You need a structured way of having a conversation and leading them towards a decision, which is basically what the appointment is normally about. So the first step in this is to find out what's your USP. Why are you in business sounds a really obvious question that people wouldn't think about, but it is really important to ask. Why are you in business and what promise do you deliver so that you can articulate that really clearly in the appointment. Once you've done that, then you'll want to qualify that you're a good fit. We use an 80% confidence rating effectively. So if we've got 80% plus confidence that we can deliver the result that we promise, they will take a new client on. If it's less than 50%, we say, no, you're not a good fit. You need to find someone who's more able to meet your needs, and sometimes we'll even refer them to other agencies. So once you've done that, the next step is to build a plan of the steps to achieve the results you promise. This is a way of avoiding procrastination by showing the amount of time it takes to get a specific result. So for example, if you want to get a new iMac on your desk by the end of September, then you'd have to place the order by the 15th of September so that you can get it delivered, get all the software on, get it tested, get it connected to the network so it's available by the end of the month. That's an example. And then you can work back from that. Say, in order to get the app on your desktop by the end of the month, you need to proceed on the 15th of September, let's say. And once you've done that, then just need to ask the person if they wish to proceed. If they say yes, then that's cool. If they don't, then they maybe need a bit more nurturing, or maybe it's just not a good fit. So I gave you a sneak peek of the visual funnel. So I'm now going to show you it in all its glory. These are produced lovingly with care by Connie. First step is to do a second and third connection message, which I showed you earlier. The next step, once you have a first connection, is to send a thank you for connecting message, ideally curiosity driven. We typically use what's your biggest challenge in whatever your subject area is. Then we nurture with a blog, which I showed you earlier, or an article it's called on LinkedIn. and then we send a case study, and then we get into a conversation, and we invite the person to book an appointment. Some of these steps can be missed, which is why these little white arrows come down. Once they're come down to conversation and appointment, because once you have a first connection, then if someone's really keen to speak to you, then they probably won't be too concerned about blogs and things. But in general, we would always use this kind of structure and not go LinkedIn second and third, boom, here's a sales pitch. It doesn't work, really doesn't work. And it will turn people off. So we do like quite a deep funnel before we book an appointment. As a way of educating and qualifying, we use videos particularly, which are really effective, and also blogs and case studies. So, if you need our support, we'd love to be able to help you. We're happy to have a free chat, 20 minutes. We can answer any questions that you have about generating leads on LinkedIn, and see if we can help you, see if we're a good fit, or if you just want to have a chat, that's cool as well. And I talked earlier about calendar links. Here it is. This is a link to my calendar. And the thing that I mentioned earlier is how to get a copy of the copy for the connection request. All you need to do is put your name into the chat box, say slides please, and then we'll send you an email. We'll send you an email afterwards anyway, just thanking you for attending. If you ask for a copy of the slides, we'll include a copy of the slides in the email. That comes from our CRM, which demonstrates that we use what we're talking about here every day in our own business. So are you ready to convert more LinkedIn connections into appointments? That's our question. Out of the 20 odd businesses that we've now been working with, I would say 90% plus have got appointments. The exception is people who try and market everything to everybody. It doesn't work for that. The most important thing is to get really precise and specific on the messaging and who you're talking to. So you turn it more into a one-to-one conversation rather than a one-to-a-multitude conversation.